And hello and welcome to Arts and Entertainment. I'm Deborah Gilbert, your host, and as always, it's so great to have you. Thank you for tuning in, and I hope you enjoyed the show. Well, I have the pleasure of having someone who's been here before, and I know that you'll enjoy getting to hear from her again. Her name is Lauren Yarger. She's a producer for Gracewell Productions, as well as a theater reviewer, and we're going to talk about the brand new Connecticut Theater Women Network, plus other things. So I know that you'll enjoy the show. Lauren, good afternoon, and thank you so much for being here today.
Well, thank you for having me again, Deborah. It's always a pleasure.
Well, I'm so excited to have you again, and plus we have some exciting news to tell the audience today, which we will. But what I like to do in the beginning of the show, which you might remember, is to introduce the guest to the viewer. So why don't you take some time and tell us about yourself? Let us get to know you.
Well, like you said, I'm a producer. I've been producing some reading series for my production company called Gracewell Productions here in Connecticut. I've been involved in shows in New York and Connecticut for many years. I'm also a theater reviewer, and I'm picking that up again. It seems to go in cycles as to how much of that I do from year to year, but I'll be doing a lot more of that this year. And I'm a member of the Outer Critics Circle in New York and produced their awards for them down there in May. So I wear many different hats, and then I'm also one of the founders of the new Connecticut Theater Women Network that you mentioned, and we've been very busy getting that up and running.
Tell us about the foundation of Gracewell Productions. As a producer, what do you do there?
Well, I pretty much direct what shows are going to be done and what series are going to be done. I can do them on my own. I produce shows on my own, or I can invest in other shows. So it's just a question of looking at what's coming up and what I want to do this season, that type of thing.
Now, one of the things that you have had are reading series. Tell us what they're all about.
Well, I had one that was held at the Palace for 4 years. We actually concluded that series now, but it was a developmental series where the playwright had an opportunity to hear their play performed in front of an audience. It's very important in the playwriting process to be able to have a reading. Different kinds of readings. You start usually with a table reading, which is what it sounds like, a group of people sitting around a table and just reading the parts so that you can get a feel for what you have on the page. But then there's an actual reading where you'll have actors on stage in front of some kind of an audience, not usually a huge audience, but some people in the room, so that they can start to develop what the characters might sound like. And it's very helpful because you can tell pretty quickly, is the audience reacting the way you thought they were going to? If you have a joke in there, did they laugh? Was it funny? At the end, there's usually a feedback session, so the audience can ask you questions or give you feedback, so that as the playwright, you have a better idea of how what you thought you had on paper is presenting itself on stage. So that was what that's about. And then I have another series that I'm working on that I did one summer at Ivoryton Playhouse, which was a series of plays that were for and by the boomer generation. So it was playwrights who were of that generation, and then topics and stories that appealed to that generation. So I'm developing that for another series at this point.
The arts and entertainment, which this show deals with, and you with theater, and as a producer, was that something that you thought that you'd be doing as you were growing up? Did you ever think about performing?
Well, when I was in second grade, I was in a school production of The King and I thought I would be the next Tony Award-winning Broadway musical star, until I actually had to get up and sing in front of people, and it didn't go exactly the way I had planned. And I found that I was much better at behind the scenes things. And actually, I think it was sixth grade, I was producing backyard plays for my neighborhood. So that kind of was always in the background. I didn't really start doing that as a career until much later, but it's always been something that I've been involved with and enjoyed.
The theater reviewer part, you did that for quite some time and started many years ago. How did that come about?
Well, I actually, my background really was in journalism. I'd been a newspaper reporter and editor, but I had always loved theater. I grew up outside of New York City, went into Broadway all of the time, and all of my friends went into theater, so it was always a part of my life. And a friend of mine was a Broadway reviewer, and I would attend shows with her. And she kept saying to me, you know, you really should be doing this. You've got this background in journalism, you've got the love of theater, and I had done some theater producing and directing of theater, that kind of thing, writing plays. And she said, you really should do this. And I kept thinking, but it's different. It's a very different art form. Reviewing something, writing a review for theater is not the same thing as when you're reporting a news event. It's completely different, and I just didn't really think I knew how to do it. So one time we were at the theater, and she kept saying, you know, once again, she said, you should be doing this. And I said, oh, I don't know. She said, just do it. And she basically handed me her notepad and said, review this show. And I did, and she was a great mentor and helped me begin the process. And I found that once I started doing it, I knew that's what I was called to do. So I've never looked back.
So how long have you been reviewing? We're going to talk about that because it's very exciting. How long have you been reviewing theater, making that transition? How long has it been?
Oh, it's been about, I think of 20 years or so. I'd have to go back and calculate, but at least that long.
Let's talk about the Connecticut Theater Women Network. People have seen the credit on my show as League of Professional Theater Women being a member, which
Right.
I was thrilled to be a part of. That has changed. Tell us what the Connecticut Theater Women Network is all about.
Well, it's the next step from the chapter. We had been a chapter of the League of Professional Theater Women here in Connecticut for 9 years. And it was a great time of getting to know people and beginning programs and projects that we wanted to do here as a part of the league. But as we grew over the years, we discovered that some of the reasons why it was really helpful for us to be a chapter of the organization, which was based in New York, at the beginning didn't really apply anymore. And the more we were looking to the future, when we sat down to do our next 3-year plan last season, we realized that to do what we wanted to do, we really need to be our own organization, a Connecticut corporation, our own 501c3. So we've been in the process of doing that. So the fiscal year for the chapter ended in June, and we began the new network in July. And we're going to be officially launching with our first networking lunch this Saturday, actually, in New Milford.
There are probably many people that are interested. Now, well, first off, are there only women that are members? And number two, how does somebody become a member of the organization?
Yes, it's women. It's the Connecticut Women Theater Women Network. So yes, the members are women. We do have categories of membership. There's depending on number of years of experience, that's the level of membership that you might apply for. Membership is by invitation. So usually we get to know somebody, they contact us and they'll tell us, I'm involved in theater, this is what I'm doing. And that gives us a better idea of what level of membership we might be able to offer. But we also have it's a friends category too. So you might be someone who enjoys theater and you like to be going to theater things. We have a lot of events you can attend. You can be around theater people and meet them, but you may not be in theater yourself, but you can make a donation and then attend some of our events that way too. So we try to be as open as we can. Most of our events are open to the public. Then there are perks for being a member. There are discounted tickets and free tickets and other things that are available to the members.
And what are some of the things that the organization does? There are so many things that I get in the newsletter every month of things that are happening. The members are doing things. What is it like throughout a calendar year?
We have a full slate of activity, even as a new organization. Because we are continuing a lot of what we did as a chapter, we weren't starting from scratch. So one of the things that we do have is our monthly newsletter, which includes all of our activities, whatever we have coming up as an organization that's available either to members or to members of the public to attend. And then we have all of these news items about our members and women in general, women in theater. So we have one category that is women in the news. So if someone has received an award, or if someone's play was presented as part of a festival, or whatever the news might be, those are listed there. And then there are opportunities. So that's upcoming shows, ways that you can help support women in theater who, I might have a play that I'm presenting, and so you might be able to come attend that. Here's how you get tickets for that. So all of that news is in there every month. And you do not need to be a member to get the newsletter, so you can keep up with what's happening there. We also have pretty much monthly networking events, and they tend to be lunches, but they can be dinners that are connected with shows. So we'll have a group that's going to, say, go see a show at Goodspeed, and we'll meet for dinner beforehand. And it's just a way to meet other women from the area. And we do these all over the state because we're such a big state geographically, and there are so many women working in theater. There's no way we could just be located in one place and reach everyone. So we try to move around and give people an opportunity to attend something in their area.
Okay, Lauren, let's hold that thought and take a break. I'm Deborah Gilbert. You're tuned in to Arts and Entertainment. We're going to take a break, and we'll be right back.
Keep 2025 fraud-free with these 3 tips from Better Business Bureau. Be wary of unsolicited emails from a person or company. Remember, scammers can make emails look like they are from a legitimate business, government agency, or reputable organization. Never click on links or open attachments in unsolicited emails. If you haven't met a person face-to-face, don't send them money. This is especially true if the person asks you to transfer funds using a prepaid debit card or Cash App. Money sent to strangers in this way is untraceable, and once it's sent, there's no getting it back. And resolve to research the retailer before entering payment information when shopping online. Ask, is this a person or business I know and trust? Do they have a working customer service number? Where is the company physically located? And have I checked to see if others have complained? Visit bbb.org to read complaints and reviews and find a trusted company near you.
And welcome back to Arts and Entertainment. I'm Deborah Gilbert, your host, and as always, it's so great to have you. I hope that you continue to enjoy the show. My conversation continues on with Lauren Yarger. And if we can put the website up on the screen, gracewellproductions.com, excuse me. Lauren, tell us what the viewer will find when they visit it.
It's a one-place stop for most of the stuff that I am doing. So you'll see the productions that are being done by Gracewell. You'll see if I'm involved in some activities and what's going on with that. And coming up, you'll be able to see more about shows in Connecticut and New York posted there as well.
Okay, let's announce to the audience something that we're going to start doing. I'm very excited about this. To all of my viewers, Lauren had sent me an email saying, why don't we start reviewing some theater, some shows? And I said, what a fabulous idea. So we're going to start doing that every once in a while, maybe once every other month. And so we're going to start today and talk about some theater and some reviews. So Lauren, if you'd be kind enough, why don't we talk about some of the ones that you've put together today to share with us?
I would be delighted to. I'm so glad you're wanting to do this, Deborah, because it's a great time to do it. It's the start of the season. Everything in theater starts up in September. And it's also getting harder and harder to decide for families and people what shows they are going to be able to see. You know, the cost of a ticket in theater has gone up quite a lot. So people who might have been able to go to several shows or 4 or 5 shows a year with their family or something, they're really not able to do that as much. So they're looking for guidance in terms of, well, what show do I really want to see? So what I'm going to do on this program, as long as your readers or your listeners are excited about it, is to try to give you some picks, some critic picks of things either coming up or that I've seen that are still playing that you'll be able to see by hearing it. It sometimes helps. And if you find someone you trust, hopefully they'll come to trust me as to what I, am saying is a good show that you should go see. It helps because you have to, even our newsletter that you mentioned, when you get that, there's so many options for you to go see different things. You have to pick and choose. So I'm going to hopefully help do that here.
Okay, wonderful. What are your thoughts to get us started? I'm so excited. Let's get
Well,
started.
Well, for Broadway, I have to say, I don't want to sound negative, but the stuff that's opening right in the fall, there isn't a whole lot that is just really exciting me. So, not that I'm not excited, but it's just that usually there are some things that I'm just like, wow, I can't wait to see that. I'm a little more hesitant on some of the things this fall. I think it'll pick up once the winter comes and into the spring. But right away, the one thing that I am interested in and that I think you should put on your radar if you're going to go into New York for a show is the revival of Ragtime at Lincoln Center. It's a great show. It's a great cast. Joshua Henry's in it, one of my favorite actors on Broadway. It's usually at Lincoln Center, they give excellent productions there. So I would say, if you have to pick one this fall, that would be the one I would suggest you look into. Here in Connecticut, we have a whole variety of things happening, and I had a hard time going through and just picking some, even just from the shoreline area, because there's so much to choose from. But one thing I'm looking forward to is at Active Connecticut in Ridgefield. They have Almost Famous, which was a film, and it's been turned into a musical. And Tom Kitt has written the music, who's the one who wrote Next to Normal. So I'm there. I'm a big fan of his music. But it's a story of a reporter who follows a rock band and gets caught up in the rock scene back in the 70s. So it should be very interesting. That's running mid-October into November at Active Connecticut in Ridgefield. It's actually, they're working with some of the original people who were involved with that, and it had a brief stint on Broadway. And they're forming the final show, basically, that will then be available for licensing at other shows. So it's going to be an interesting production to see. At Goodspeed, I'm excited about, they have an anniversary edition of A Chorus Line coming up. It's the 50th anniversary for A Chorus Line. I feel very old. I can't believe it's been that long. But, Marvin Hamlish was the big sensation that year. And of course, it's gone on. He went on to win the Pulitzer Prize, and it's a standard of musical theater now. It really opened the doors for a lot of musical theater after things like Rent, things like Next to Normal, Hamilton. Those kinds of shows hadn't been done. It really, and Chorus Line was one of the groundbreaking type musicals that way. So looking forward to that. It's being directed by Rob Ruggiero, who's the artistic director at TheaterWorks up in Hartford. Also, I'm really looking forward to at Legacy Theater in Branford. They're doing a production of Noises Off, which is a farce, which has been around for years. It's very funny. Most theater groups have done it at some time. It's a show about a show being done. It's like behind stage humor of things going wrong and people having relationship issues backstage while the show is happening. But they cast James Roday Rodriguez in a role in this, and when that was announced, the tickets just kind of went out the window, and they had to extend it. And he's the guy who starred in Psych, which was a TV show, a very funny TV show not too long ago on TV, and one of my favorites. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. I've seen him on stage before. He's very good on stage as well as TV. And then I have one that's actually in New York, but it's got a connection with Long Wharf. It's called Torera. It's about a young girl who wants to be a bullfighter, and it's not really an acceptable profession for a woman in Mexico at her time. And they're in partnership with several different theaters at the Women's Project Theater in New York, and one of them is Long Wharf. So there's a connection for us down on the shoreline. We can go see it in New York. So anyway, those are the ones I picked that I thought were very interesting, and I'm very much looking forward to.
So the word that I heard right now is picked. How do you decide what you're going to review, let alone what you're going to say out loud to your broadcast audience?
Well, as a critic, if you're really reviewing the season, you pretty much see everything. So it's not so much picking and choosing what you're going to see. Although I do have to do some of that in New York. I mean, I couldn't possibly see everything in New York, but as a voter for the Outer Critics, I do need to see most everything. And certainly if it's nominated, I need to see it so I can vote on it. So generally I'm seeing the whole season. But when I'm picking things, like I said, it's like when you're trying to decide how to spend your pocket money on a show. I have to decide, well, I've got 15 minutes on Deborah's show, which shows really sound interesting. These are the ones I'm looking forward to. So,
your thoughts about theater. How is it doing? We're in 2025, moving into 2026. Have things changed since COVID?
Well, we're still recovering. I think last year things seemed finally to be on the road to recovery a little bit more. I think we were struggling a lot up until then. New York certainly is still struggling. We're starting to see more foot traffic in New York. There for a while, tourists weren't coming and people were not commuting in from nearby states like New Jersey and Connecticut as much as they had been. That has improved some. But I think that we still have seen some shifts. People are not really buying subscriptions as much as they did before the pandemic. People are more interested in deciding which shows they want to see. They're not going to buy a subscription package that has 7 shows in it, and they really only want to see 2 of them. So they are going to buy the single tickets to those 2 shows, and they're going to decide closer to the production whether they're going to go or not. People have so much on their plate now that it's really hard, even a couple of months in advance, to say, okay, I'm going to go to the theater on Friday night in October or something. You have to be closer to know what's going on and what needs to be a priority for you and your family. So it's a little bit different still, but it seems to be nudging toward being better.
This show kind of gears itself towards the shoreline of the state of Connecticut, but it does hit the full state. How is theater doing in the state? I mean, it's amazing when I get the newsletter, let alone what I've heard through the several years that I've done the show, just how vibrant theater is in our state. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, we are just a theater, just a treasure. I can't think of another word. It's just everywhere you look, there's theater. And we have something like 15 professional theaters. We have a large number of community theaters that also are producing a lot of different shows and things for people to go see. And, hundreds. We just have hundreds of options here in Connecticut. I think that everybody is... pretty much what I said is the same in Connecticut that I was saying before about theater in general, but I think that grants and the ability to be able to get grants are going to affect theater a lot. There have been shifts in funding that's available, particularly this year, and theaters almost always are dependent on donations and grants, and the ticket price for the productions that they do usually doesn't even cover half of the operating costs for the theater for the year. So they are dependent on additional funds, and those funds are drying up. So that is going to really affect a lot of the theaters, especially the smaller ones, as to what they can do and how many productions they can do. We just had there was an article recently about the O'Neill Theater Center here that was really struggling. They had minimize their offerings during their summer festivals, and an article was written and a lot of people donated as a result of that article, so that gave them a nice little extra amount of cash to go forward with other programming. But I think it's going to be season to season for most theaters, especially smaller ones, but even the larger ones. I mean, if the grant money dries up, it's going to be very difficult.
Okay, we are slowly starting to run out of time. Any closing thoughts for the viewer?
Well, support your theaters. Support your local theaters as much as you can. They really do need you. They need you to come and support the theater by buying tickets to the seats bringing people, word of mouth is so important. If you see something that you like, tell people about the show and how much you enjoyed it. Go on social media and post on your Facebook page so that other people can find out about it and they can go buy tickets. I mean, that really is what's going to make the difference.
Well, I am very excited that you and I are going to start a theater review show. So I want to welcome you aboard and say thank you very much from all of us for spending time to do that kind of work for us. You know, it's just going to be so wonderful.
Well, it's my pleasure. I mean, there's nothing more fun than being in theater and talking about it. So.
Okay, well, thank you so much for being here, Lauren. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
I'm Deborah Gilbert. You're tuned into Arts and Entertainment. In case you need to reach me, I'm at artsandentertainment@mail.com. Well, I hope you have a super day today. I hope you're excited about what's coming up. We sure are. Have a super day today, and thanks so much for tuning in. I'll see you next time.